You might see her and wonder, what's her secret? She walks like nothing in this world can break her. Graceful. Fierce. Silent like a storm before it hits. But behind that calm face, behind that confident walk, are scars. Scars that once bled pain, loss, betrayal, and fear. This is the story of how a broken girl became a queen. Chapter 1, The Girl Who Never Spoke. Eliza was never loud. She wasn't the type to shout her pain, post her heartbreaks, or cry in public. No, her tears were quiet, her wounds were deep, and her silence was misunderstood. Born in a small, conservative town, Eliza was the kind of girl who always did what she was told. She wasn't raised to dream big, she was raised to obey. To endure. To survive. Her father was strict, military-like, a man who thought love made people weak. Her mother? Quiet and tired, always shrinking into the background, like a shadow that had forgotten how to shine. So when Eliza showed signs of talent, painting, writing, storytelling, it was shut down. Focus on reality, they said. Art doesn't feed you, her father warned. Good girls don't chase dreams, her aunt whispered. And so, little by little, she folded those dreams into tiny corners of her heart and learned to smile when it hurt. Chapter 2, The First Wound. At 17, Eliza fell in love. His name was Samir. Older. Charming. Smooth with words that wrapped around her like poetry. For the first time, someone listened to her stories. For the first time, she felt seen. But what started like a fairy tale turned into a slow, silent nightmare. Samir was insecure, controlling, possessive. He would smile and say, "I just care too much," right after screaming at her for talking to a male classmate. He'd say, "You look beautiful," right after asking her to stop wearing makeup. He'd say, "You don't need anyone else," right after cutting her off from her friends. And she believed him. Because love, she had been taught, was sacrifice. By 20, Eliza had lost her confidence, her creativity, her friends, and most tragically, herself. One night, after a terrible fight where he blamed her for ruining his life, he raised his hand. And though the slap never landed, something else did. The truth. She was not loved. She was being used. And she was not weak. That night, she packed her bags. No money. No real plan. Just bruises on her soul and a fire in her eyes. Chapter 3, The Fall and the Fight. The world outside wasn't kinder. She stayed in a women's shelter, worked long hours in a bookstore, and ate one meal a day just to pay rent. She cried herself to sleep more times than she could count. But every time she looked in the mirror, she reminded herself. I left. I survived. I'm healing. Healing wasn't pretty. It was raw, messy, slow. She'd break down while reading an old message. She'd get anxiety just hearing his name. But instead of burying it, she used it. She started journaling again. Then blogging. She joined a therapy group and, for the first time, heard other women say, "Me too." And slowly, something shifted. Her words started touching hearts. Women from different cities began following her blog. They messaged her, saying, "You wrote what I couldn't say." That pain, once her prison, became her platform. Chapter 4, The Rise. By 27, Eliza had launched a foundation called Crown the Scarred, a safe space for women who were rebuilding themselves. She began hosting seminars, motivational talks, writing healing poetry. She didn't wear her pain like chains anymore. She wore it like armor. She still remembered everything. The girl who was silenced. The love that almost destroyed her. The nights she prayed just to be invisible. But now she also remembered. The strength that woke up in her when the world gave up. The courage it took to choose herself. The beauty in rising alone. She carried scars, deep, emotional, invisible ones. But she had earned every one of them. Not as marks of weakness, but as proof she had survived. Chapter 5, The Crown. 10 years later. Eliza stood on a TEDx stage. Her voice was steady. Her eyes sparkled. Her presence filled the room. She spoke not like someone who had read books on healing, but like someone who had crawled through fire and walked out, not just alive, but on purpose. She said, "There were days I hated myself. Nights I begged the stars to take me. I carried guilt, shame, fear, scars that no one could see. But I chose to stay. I chose to heal. I chose to rise. Not because I'm special, but because I'm human. And if I can wear my scars and still walk like a queen, so can you." The crowd stood. Applause roared. But in the front row, one young girl was crying. Later, she walked up to Eliza and said, "I saw myself in your story. Thank you for surviving." Eliza smiled gently and whispered, "No. Thank you for still being here. That makes you a queen too." Ending message. Scars are not ugly. They are reminders that the wound healed. They are proof you lived through it. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have it all together to walk like royalty. You just need to remember, you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become after it. So walk like a queen, even if your crown is cracked and your heart still mends. Because queens are not born perfect, they're made in the fire.